Well, irony of ironies, Libra season begins tomorrow. The fall equinox. The day and the night forces are even. That's what that equinox stands for. But you say, hey, the ruler of Libra is Venus. But next week is going to be brought to you by Mars. That's Mars behind me. And the Sun. These are the two celestial bodies that really stand out much more dynamically this week. And I say that for a couple of different reasons. One is, and I mentioned this last week, Venus, when it went into Virgo, basically went into its fall. It's like the expression or the image that I really, tune into the best is fall is like being at the bottom of a well, yelling for help, 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 I'm down here. Somebody, please come get me out. And yet, are you being heard? Not likely. So that's what being in fall is like. So Venus, that planet that should be stepping up to the plate, to the fore, as we, move into this Libra season tomorrow. Not that strong. However, the Sun is going to move into Libra tomorrow. Fall equinox. It's the Sun. That solar vibration of, vitality. Can you feel that energy? Yeah, it's Libra. It's lighting up the sign of Libra. What is the experience that's going to manifest when you get together with others? That is one of the essential Libra things. Another is art. Oh, definitely. Venus art. That, expression, creative expression in multiple different formats. Is it music? Is it painting? Is it singing? Is it dance? These are all forms of artistic expression. Now, art, or Libra, is the artist, but it's also the diplomat, the peacemaker, the lover, the lawmaker, the decorator, and the host. These are all expressions of that Libran archetype. On this very same day, I should probably call up a chart. On this very same day, the Sun, here it is, Monday, 29 degrees 51 minutes at 8 o'clock in the morning on Monday, which means that it's only got to go 9 more minutes and Libra happens. Well, on that very same day, which means it goes into 0 degrees of Aries, that's going to be exactly opposite of Neptune. That dance with the unlimited creative levels of imagination, which is Neptune. It's going to ask us, are you going to be inspired by what form of artistic expression is tapping you on the shoulder and saying, hey, wake up, it's time to do some of that artistic stuff. So, welcome to Libra. As we, also on this very same day, Mars has just, let's go back a day, I'll show you. Mars, see bright Mars here on Sunday, today, the day of the eclipse. Also, we're about in that eclipse time right now, but if you look over here at the declination, which means the planets north and south of the equator, the Sun and the Moon are both at 0 degrees north declination, which means they're pretty much right on the equator. And the Moon Yeah, right on the equator. And the nodes, these two nodes, one's at 4 degrees south, one's at 4 degrees north. It means that they're also very close to the equator, which is the reason why we have an eclipse. Now, because it's 0 degrees, which is where the sun and the moon are, being able to see it as far north as we are here, not necessarily as likely. Closer to the equator, yes. That is where the eclipse will be seen the most intensely. So, enough for the eclipse. We're on into Monday now. And on Monday, see that Mars, it just jumped from Libra into the sign that it has traditional rulership with, Scorpio. There's a kind of an intensity, we'll say, that when Mars comes into its sign that it rules, either Aries or Scorpio, the lights come on. There's I would say probably more so the Aries lights coming on would be the image, because when Mars comes into Scorpio, it's kind of like, what are the deeper, darker corners possibly of this creative infold of an experience that we're living in, that Mars, when it's in Scorpio, is going to be asking questions about, deeper, more profound, more penetrating questions as to why are we here? What is the more intimate potential of energy that we came to share with one another? This is the Scorpio archetype. And so this is why I say this week is being brought to you by the Sun and Mars. Venus will come along. It's not as intense right now. Still, it is the ruler of everything that is in Libra, which will be, of course, the Sun, Mercury, and the Moon. That moon dancing, holding hands with Mercury as we begin this Monday thing. Can you feel that there is an avenue of creative expression, Mercury in Libra, that is being inspired? It's still Libra, remember. What is that moon awakening sense say that you need to pay attention to? As I was preparing for today's celestial chatter, I was going through everything. After every once in a while, you look at the clutter that's on your computer screen, lots and lots of files and stuff. So I went through all those files, determining where do I really need to put these so that I might be able to look at them later, and what categories did they need to be in. And one of the categories was art. And so I have a lot of artistic things that inspire me. And I was inspired in many different fashions as I was considering what and where and how might I, bring some of this artistic expression to light. Which is where I came across this image, the clearest image, or a very clear image of Mars being taken from on top. You go on top. In space, how do you determine on top? Well, it's probably got something to do with the ecliptic, that pattern where the planets all rotate within a 23 degrees north and 23 degrees south of, 0 degrees on our planet, the ecliptic. And the planets all stay in there. So looking from down on top, it would also be the down on top of the Earth. But we're talking Mars here today. So that's the energy that kicks this week off. The Sun coming into Libra, Mars coming into Scorpio, and the Moon holding hands with Mercury. What kind of experiences, what kind of sharing with others might be the inspiration for where conversations might go this week? Because Mercury is going to be in Libra for, at least all this week. So let's just there was only one other thing that happened, because as this Mars comes into Scorpio, it moves into a forming square with Pluto, so-called modern ruler of, you guessed it, Scorpio. So, and it's a square. Square energies are of such nature that it's kind of like there's a challenge there, you know. We have an air sign. Air sign Pluto. We have a water sign, Scorpio. And it's kind of like the Libra, Aquarius, where Pluto is it has a certain particular aim that says what's going to be able to transpire as we get together in the group format to consider things. And the group format it's a creative cauldron of potential right there. Scorpio, on the other hand, over there, that water sign, is into its water, intuition, that feeling nature of a deeper, intimate, intense focus on the soul, the individual soul, the collective soul, but a version of human reality that doesn't often get invited into the light of day. Very, very unfortunate that that's the case, because the process of incubating, growing, expanding, and allowing soul awareness to come up to the surface and beyond would change the very direction of what it is that we as human beings might discover about ourselves and our connection to a level of wholeness that we are all a part of and are all a part of us. It's a square aspect, that Mars to Pluto, these two rulers of Scorpio. Squares is kind of like, picture if you will, the guy who invented the wheel. Round, it rolls and stuff. If he started out with a square, you've all seen those cartoons, ka-thump, 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 from side to side to side. Not smooth. And that's kind of a artistic version of the expression of a square. The things on any one side aren't necessarily in tune with things on the next side or the next side or the next side. There's a grating kind of energy, if you will, that is trying to find commonality, but it's challenged because the visual acuity of any one of those sides doesn't see what's on the other side. And so even though these are the two rulers of Scorpio, Pluto and Mars, Mars is in Scorpio. So, firing on all cylinders. I want to, I'm pretending I'm Mars right now. I want to really intimately understand what mystery, what secrets are transpiring in the current situation that I'm involved in right now that might be relevant, extremely relevant to my understanding of a version of the life experience that doesn't necessarily exist out there in the common everyday vernacular of how we exchange thoughts with one another. Runs a bit deeper. If you think of picture water. It is a water sign after all. The surface of the ocean, very choppy, lots of stuff, uncomfortable and stuff. Scorpio goes a bit deeper. What's at the next level down in this ocean? Yeah, there are currents, but, I was sitting in my eye doctor's place the other day. And they had this video screen of fish swimming around under the water and stuff. Some of them are in tanks, and some of them are actually out in the wild. And the difference between them was the ones that were in the tanks were essentially almost stationary. I mean, they were moving and stuff. The ones that were in the actual ocean, you could see the current of the ocean actually moving them as they swam back and forth. It wasn't just, I've got no resistance. Well, the ocean currents down deeper, yeah, they've got some movement there. It's a flow. You get used to a version of the living process that is actually in tune with the natural environment that you find yourself. And so, it's much more energetic. It's much more natural than, being stuck in a tank where all you have are bubbles coming up from the bottom. No current, no life current. This is Scorpio. It has that intimate quality of connection to the vibrations of life going on, and there's a fluctuation that's in the process. This is why I'm focusing in on this Mars, because Mars is going to be in Scorpio for a while, and that's an energy that we should be paying attention to. So as I consider, just what's going on this week, we haven't even really got off of Monday on this chart. It's actually on, here we are, on Wednesday, Mars is exactly square, almost exactly square to this Pluto, and the moon comes right over the top of it and says, hey, do you feel the energy? I am the lunar thing. I'm casting a light. Not much light. It's a new moon, and new moons mean what? They mean wake up. There's something that's trying to put in an appearance here. It isn't completely clear yet. But it's, there's more light being shed on it. So breathe into this. Inspire yourself to be more curious about what? About the Scorpio things. About the deeper side of the living process. And, on the 26th, look here, 26, the moon's at 26 degrees of Scorpio. It's also right on the cusp of Sagittarius, which means that if we go look up here at the declinations, the moon has just gone out of bounds. Right, out of bounds. That unpredictable kind of creative zone where things are a little bit tipsy-turvy, out of tune balance potentially with each other. The unpredictability factor is in play. And so, it's Friday. We're going into Friday, the moon. You might almost still have the capacity to sense it. Oh yeah, we just went through today, Sunday, what day is Sunday the 21st, a solar eclipse. Eclipses are about change, and they're not just your everyday run-of-the-mill kind of changes. They're dynamic changes. This was a sun-moon conjunction at the very last degree of Virgo, and the south node of the dragon's tail was the close point of that draconic energy, the nodes of the moon, that was bringing to focus what it is that this particular new moon asked us to awaken to. South node is the past. There are things that, have gotten us to here to where we are that may seem to raise their heads and say, pay attention to me. I would advise you to, take that with enough or grains of salt to recognize that the south node can be a distraction from where it is you are really trying to head. So this particular new moon that we had right there on the very last degree of Virgo is like, yeah. The mutable signs, Virgo, which is one of them, are about change. So the change factor on this last degree of Virgo is trying to prepare us as we step into Libra, that there are factors in the refinement of technique that are to the fore as we engage with one another, Libra, in that dynamism of that interplay of energy that we bring to and with us for exchanging thoughts with others. It's powerful. It's powerful. And there were other aspects that were going on. If we go back to Monday. Wow. As Monday was getting, we have a yod forming. This yod is between Uranus and Neptune and, you guessed it, Mars. That's right. Which means Mars is bringing to focus the potentially unpredictable Uranian energy in Gemini, which has, no shortage of curiosity, and Neptune, a level of intimate, creative imagination with no limits. Spin that over to that Martian focus coming into Scorpio, and you have to wonder, what dynamic mysteries is this Mars focus going to be asking us to, to delve into? As we go to Tuesday, that, Yod is even more focused, and Wednesday, it starts to wane a little bit from the Neptunian factor, but it's still in play, and it's not but emphasized as the moon comes over that Mars on Wednesday and says, hey, don't forget, you have been and you are the focus of this yod. How are you going to play it? How are you going to utilize that unlimited creative imagination being stimulated as Uranus shakes things up and says, are you awake to the potential for how this creative imagination is going to inspire that deep, penetrating, investigative process that Mars is bringing for you to consider? And the weekend comes, the moon has gone out of bounds up here in that Sagittarius to Aquarius zone where it always goes out of bounds in a southern version. Yeah, this is south up here. This is north down here. Yeah, I know it all seems backwards, but that's how astrology works. It's because of where we are in the planet and where astrology developed from. That's another story, not for today. So this is the energy that this week has placed in front of us to tune into as we go into the Libra dance, which, there will be some forms of artistic expression, and definitely the interaction capacity that we share with one another is on the table. So that's all I'm going to do for this week. I want you to breathe into, it's an air sign, breath. Breathe into that experience of, are we? Am I? Are each other, in any circumstance that we find ourselves, able to facilitate a version of exploration that we came to discover as to why is it that we came together in this particular moment? Things don't happen by accident. There are reasons, but oftentimes we may be so hell bent on, a certain version of reality that we're, steeped in, that we might miss out on those opportunities that are right there in front of us because we're distracted by something or someone or a version of life that says we need to go in this direction or we need to go in that direction. And because of that, I don't have time to pay attention to the current moment that I'm in, and might you miss out on what it is that life has plopped you down into in that moment for a reason? Now, I don't know what that reason is, but by being awake and alive in that moment, ask questions. It is highly likely that each of us is going to grow in ways we cannot predict if we're awake in each of those moments to what's going on. That's it. No more for this week. Enjoy the ride. We're going into an air sign. That possibility of interacting with others, it's up. Be alive, be awake. Make sure you pay attention to who it is that comes across your wavelength. Ciao for now.